Patriot Nation Radio Live.
What's up, everybody? This is Jordan Page. In light of the recent events in Oregon, I just wrote a song that I'm going to share with you. This is called The Ballad of Lavoy Finicum. Subtext, Cowboys Stand for Freedom.
I'm making those cash.
He was a man who loved to walk the land, turn his cheek but also take a stand. His conviction called, he followed what he felt was right. Well, there's no telling just what time will bring. You can live for nothing or for everything, but when the pushes come to shove and tell me, will you find? I'm only talking about a cowboy stand for freedom. I'm just talking about a name carved in a stone, a friend and brother to anyone. He's riding off into the setting sun. Drive on, cowboy, he's heading home. Well, there's almost right and then there's nearly wrong as you live your life from sunrise to dawn, and then it's over and the moment's gone. You can testify to things unseen, but the world is blind, can't see a thing. All you can do is try to be a human being. I'm only talking about a cowboy stand for freedom. I'm just talking about a name carved in a stone, a friend and brother to anyone. He's riding off in the setting sun. Drive on, cowboy, he's heading home. I know not what course other men may take. I can't see that far down the road. But as for me and mine, make no mistake, the weight of justice is a heavy load, and I'm living by code. He left his home to go and take a stand as boys rang out across the deafened land, and in the end it was the bullet that exposed the line. A truth remembered is a battle won, though his murder cannot be undone. It rings out like an echo, thundering across the night. But here's to all the cowboys who stand for freedom. Why do we watch them from afar with hearts of stone? He's riding off to the setting sun. The thoughts of many from the voice of one. Well, drive on, cowboy, your work is done. Well, Godspeed, cowboy, will carry on.
There you have it, folks. That's the Ballad of Lavoy Finicum by Jordan Page. Head on over to jordanpagemusic.com and check out all his stuff. He's got a CD out called Liberty. You don't want to miss out hearing that great tune every day. Get the album, get the tour, get the information, the merchandise, whatever you want. jordanpagemusic.com. This is a public service announcement from my good friend Pastor Sylvester Bland in the United States of America. Feed the Beast No More campaign is in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. For decades now, in the name of fun, food, and entertainment, conservatives, Christians, and patriots have created a monster. And unknowingly, after we spent billions of hard-earned dollars supporting these corporations and their sponsors, we now see their plan. They systematically have bought politicians to spread their immoral social agenda. They have sued in court and have successfully closed down business. Enough is enough. Let's Feed the Beast No More. Join the national boycott. Targeted right now 8 corporations and their sponsors. To see this official list, head over to UnitedSaintsOfAmerica.us or call Pastor Bland at 951-360-3399. 951-360-3399. Tell them Patriot Nation Radio sent you. And that website again, because maybe it wasn't clear, www.theunitedsaintsofamerica.us. Check out Pastor Bland's show Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the United Saints of America. Great man there, that Pastor Bland. He's awesome. So, folks, of course, you've seen the riots, of course, in Chicago at the Trump rally. Okay, you got people threatening people directly in their faces, assaulting people, disrupting and interrupting a rally, a free speech rally, a First Amendment presidential campaign rally. And these are nice, poor, angry people who are just getting involved in politics. And rewind back to the Malheur Wildlife Refuge in Oregon, where you had peaceful protesters having a sit-in at a Bureau of Land Management building on public land in the middle of the afternoon with the doors unlocked, chilling out, never turned a gun on nobody, never threatened anybody, inventoried Native American artifacts that were being neglected, cleaned up tons of rat crap that was all over the artifact in the basement, fixed things, repaired things, helped people in town shovel snow, and went to the stores and bought goods and helped, provide services. And these guys are labeled militant terrorists. And to me, it goes beyond saying that these guys are not militant terrorists. They are patriotic constitutionalists who love America, freedom, and our way of life. The terrorists are Bernie Sanders and his people, Bill Ayers and his MoveOn.org, funded by George Soros, crap organization that hates freedom, liberty, and the American way for anybody who disagrees with their view. They are squashing the free speech of those who disagree with their view, which is socialistic bullcrap. Folks, socialism is communism. Communism is socialism. We are not a communist country. We are a republic, a free republic that lives under a constitution signed by incredible men who had unbelievable foresight and knew that we would be living in this tyranny in our time. And they wrote a living document that lives today. And if you've been tuning in on Monday night on our Constitution 101 program, we have been covering the Constitution. And, of course, we started with the Declaration of Independence a few weeks ago. We went through the First Amendment. We covered it twice, a little bit, in back-to-back weeks, and moved into the Second Amendment. Now we are into the Third Amendment, and I want to welcome our co-host tonight and every night on Constitution 101, Charlotte Sines. What's up, Char? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm fired up.
I am too.
I am really sick and tired of this left-wing bullcrap. It's unbelievable, and that people are subscribing to it. I was at work today, man, trumpeting the Constitution. I was actually told to, calm down, take a breath, easy. I'm asking people directly, what do you think about the Constitution? And they are deflecting. Why? Not because they don't like the Constitution. They don't understand the Constitution. They don't know the Constitution.
Right.
So that's why we are doing our show. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, doing Constitution 101 on Patriot Nation Radio. Me, your host, Mark Hoffmann, and the Lady Federalist, Char. Before we get rolling, why don't you tell folks about your show and how they can find your show and listen to you on Blog Talk Radio.
Well, I am with We Are One America Network on Blog Talk Radio. I broadcast every Friday between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's 6 to 8 p.m. Central, which is my time. And, of course, that would be 5 to 7 and then 4 to 6 for the other time zones here in CONUS. You can look me up at The Lady Federalist on Facebook, and every time I create a show, I post the link there, as well as the permanent phone number, which I have yet to memorize. But you can also call in and listen to the archives. And last week we had a wonderful, absolutely wonderful show where I discussed the new indictments and charges as well as the press conferences that were done by the Deschutes County Sheriff's Department and also the follow-up one that was done by Mrs. Finicum. And ever since that Tuesday press conference by the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office, even the Oregonian, which many of us recognize as having been pretty much against the folks being out there at the refuge, they even posted an excellent video from Shauna Cox's video that was released by the FBI. They went to that important section where Lavoie was exiting the vehicle and what appears to be a shot coming through the roof and exiting through the rear passenger window on the left side.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And they not only slowed it down, but they also, they slowed it down, but they also zoomed in to look at it more closely. And it is that shot that has created the investigation into the FBI hostage rescue team individuals, which makes, of course, my question is, who were the hostages? Why would the hostage rescue team need to be involved? But, they refused to admit until the Oregon investigative team, looking at the evidence, noticed that it was something wrong. And if you look at the 360-page redacted document, pardon me, which I've only looked at a few pages of it because, it's redacted.
Yeah, I just downloaded it.
But,
I just downloaded it a little while ago. I haven't looked at it yet.
Right.
Got it in a PDF.
Right, exactly. The first couple of pages, you can see where one of the initial investigators found a stainless steel cartridge shell in the snow that had not yet been identified.
And they had to use the stainless steel casings.
Right. That is the famous steel casing. And it was noted to be in the NATO-style caliber. I never can remember all those, 223, 764 by whatever HD clarity.
Right.
I'm just kidding here. All I know is it was a high caliber. It wasn't a 22.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, needless to say, we probably won't get all the answers, but any little bits and pieces that I'm stumbling across, I'm sharing with the press relations, the public relations secretary for the family, so that she can decide whether or not it needs to be forwarded to the attorneys. I know that the attorneys have a team that are working on these things and may have probably found anything that I have found, but just in case, I'd rather go ahead and share it with their PR lady.
Let me ask you this favor real fast the next time you speak with the PR lady for the Finicum family. I have had some email correspondence with her, but I will be having this Thursday Bruce Cuff, Republican Tea Party candidate for governor of Oregon, a patriotic American, coming on this Thursday. Maybe one of the Finicum ladies might want to call up and ask him a question. I left some messages with Mrs. Finicum and Tara Those are the only two I got out to today because I got to work, and I try to reach out as much as I can. But
sure.
I reached out to them, too, and told them that maybe they want to call and ask a question of the fine gubernatorial candidate under the Republican Tea Party banner.
Right.
So maybe you can reach out to them and let them know. If they want to call, they're always welcome. They're always welcome to call Patriot Nation. So, I don't know if you have the Third Amendment handy with you. Would you like to read the Third Amendment? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cover the Third Amendment to the Constitution. When I ask people what they know about the Constitution, I always ask, well, what about the Third Amendment? Or maybe Amendment 6. There's certain amendments that people go, you know what I mean? And the Third Amendment is one of them. I want you to read the Third Amendment.
Okay, Amendment 3 reads, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
Now that's kind of a tricky little amendment there. Basically that's saying that they can't come and take over your house. Correct?
That's basically what it's saying, but there's a very significant historical basis for this. And I stumbled upon it yesterday while I was, fiddling around and listening to some YouTubes by my woman crush, Chris Ann Hall. Excuse me.
Yeah, she's very good.
I just love her. I really, really do. And I was, heckfire. I thought I'd saved it. I'm looking for that particular video. It is her genealogy of the Constitution. And so what she does is she goes back historically and basically explains what most of us already know but really couldn't put words to. That, as King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. And so our founders, even though they were very learned men and extremely intelligent in and of their own, and many of them were attorneys, they didn't really invent anything. We need to remember that the Revolutionary War was not a revolution. It was a civil war. It was Brits against Brits. Okay, the colonists were Brits. So it really, and for all intents and purposes, was a civil war. However, they had a history, a very long history, with their own monarchy. Okay, democratic monarchy. Yeah. I forget their technical term is, but they have a parliament and they have the king. Okay, or right now they have a queen, and so they have a long history there. There is a very important document that we all need to be aware of for the Third Amendment, and it's called the Petition of Right. That was written in 1628. It's the English Petition of Right, and I have posted or am posting all of these links that I'll be mentioning on the show. And this was written during the reign of Charles I. Now, Charles I apparently was a bit of a playboy and a spendthrift, and he was spending all sorts of money, traveling the world, and just, being the king, doing as he pleased. Sound familiar?
Right. Yep.
And the people were getting sick and tired of it, and as was Parliament. So Parliament decided to defund him.
Uh-huh.
Well, yes, they decided to defund him and said, we are no longer going to fund your spendthrift and wasteful spending. Well, being that it is a kingdom, a monarchy over there, and not a constitutional republic, King Charles disbanded Parliament. And since he could not, as the monarch, write a law requiring taxes, he instead issued a proclamation requesting or ordering temporary loans from his subjects.
Right.
Obviously,
kind of like an executive order. Kind of like an executive order.
Exactly.
Huh.
Kind of like I have a quill and a messenger. I'm going to get this done. And so those, right. So those who refused.
I have a couple homing pigeons in the cage over there.
Right.
A quill and 2 homing pigeons.
Right.
I don't need
those
Congress.
Those who refused were jailed, placed up on charges, ordered to come before his what is called Council of Privy or Privy Council, and explain why they did not pay him or give him these temporary loans. Okay. Section 2 of this petition reads, "Yet nevertheless, of late, diverse commissions directed to sundry commissioners in several counties with instructions have issued, by means whereof your people have been in diverse places assembled, and required to lend certain sums of money unto your majesty." Understand, this was written directly to the king. "And many of them, upon their refusal to do so, have had an oath administered unto them, not warrantable by the laws or statutes of this realm, and have been constrained to become bound and make appearance and give utterance before your privy council and in other places, and others of them have been therefore imprisoned, confined, and sundry other ways molested and disquieted, and divers other charges have been laid and levied upon your people in several counties by Lord Lieutenants, Deputy Lieutenants, Commissioners for Musters." Muster, does that sound familiar? That's a military term. "Justices of peace and others, by command or direction from your majesty or your privy council, against the laws and free custom of the realm." Now, that doesn't sound too much like the Third Amendment. It is Section 6 explains where the Third Amendment is derived. "And whereas of late great companies of soldiers and mariners have been dispersed into diverse counties of the realm, and the inhabitants against their wills have been compelled to receive them into their homes, and there to suffer them to sojourn against the laws and customs of this realm, and to the great grievance and vexation of the people."
See? Yeah, I could see why we wouldn't want to be forced to have folks, take these people in. Basically, we have kind of an invading army now from Syria, and those who support that, I always say they should take 2 Syrians and a Mexican, or 2 Syrians and a Guatemalan or a Peruvian or whoever these people are coming here, and take care of them, so that my tax money don't have to. And, of course, I always get the snide remarks, yeah, blah, 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 that's why the government's here, to take care of everybody. Well, whatever.
No.
But we definitely don't want to be having soldiers forcibly living on our couch, especially in time of peace.
Absolutely not. And before I go on, I want to mention something that Chris Ann explains, because a lot of us kind of know this subconsciously, but she actually brings it out into the open. Declaration of Independence was published July 4th, 1776. We know this, okay? It is based upon the Lee Resolution. The Lee Resolution was presented to the Second Continental Congress, which was our first central government, the Continental Congress. It was presented to the Second Continental Congress back in on June 7th of 1776. And there were a few states that, really weren't down with, declaring their sovereignty at the time, so they decided to wait until July 1st to go ahead and get on board with it. July 2nd of 1776, the Lee Resolution was fully signed off on. And it was a 3-part resolution, and it's very short. The Lee Resolution declared that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, and the states is capitalized, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. Now, that's the first part, okay? And that sounds very familiar because it's in our declaration. That measures should be immediately taken for procuring the assistance of foreign powers, and a confederation be formed to bind the colonies more closely together. Okay, those are parts 2 and 3. Because they knew they were going to disband and suspend the Continental Congress at that time. It was not functioning properly. That is why when we read the Constitution, it says in order to form a more perfect union. Okay? This Lee resolution, because it was signed into effect by the Continental Congress at that time, is just as legally binding as anything that our current Congress does.
Right.
Which says, based on the Declaration having come out of this resolution, it is this resolution that was signed off by all the representatives for those 13 colonies that then became states, that the states existed prior to the central government. The central government, or the federal government as we know it today, is a creation of the Constitution. It is not a party to the Constitution, and therefore one of the branches that everyone wishes to rely upon for interpreting the Constitution is not allowed to interpret the Constitution, nor whether or not the laws are constitutional, other than to go, this law is constitutional, it can stand, no, this law is unconstitutional, it cannot stand. That is the role of the Supreme Court outside of being the Supreme Court. That's why it has that name. It is supposed to be the top dog arbiter for any and all civil and criminal cases from the bottom to the top. They're supposed to be the end, the final court. They are not supposed to be interpreting the Constitution. They are not supposed to be saying that the land in Oregon, because the United States, quote, owned it while it was still part of a territory, can now own it. In point of fact, Oregon was a state in 1858, I believe, and the refuge, the original parcel of land, was declared a refuge by Executive Order 929 on August 18, 1908 by Theodore Roosevelt. It was never purchased.
See? I don't know. There's so much shady stuff. That's a whole nother show. Some of that is reaching out there to the 9th and 10th Amendment.
I just wanted to let people know that because the Lee Resolution and the states existed first, and the Constitution itself creates the central government must answer to the states. The states are sovereign and superior.
Right on. And so that we'll get that here in a couple of weeks when we reach out to the 10th Amendment, because that is definitely 10th Amendment stuff right there, folks. And you want to check out the 10th Amendment. Check out the organization, the 10th Amendment Center. They're pretty cool. They got a lot of great information.
And they are awesome.
So now, folks, we're going to run over here a little bit. So if you want to hear the rest of this interview, head over to blogtalkradio.com/Patriot Nation shows on demand, or look for it on our pages later on this evening. If you can't listen to it right after the show, listen to it tomorrow, next week, next day, whatever the case may be, www.blogtalkradio.com/Patriot Nation. So now let's hit back onto the Third Amendment. Why is the Third Amendment, do you think, so important? And why was the Third Amendment included in the Bill of Rights?
Well, the Anti-Federalists, or the writers of the Anti-Federalist Papers, who were actually co-signers and co-writers of the Constitution, they are the ones that are responsible for us having a Bill of Rights. And if you look at the date of the Bill of Rights having been ratified or added or what have you, it's a little bit later than the actual Constitution. But because they are amendments, they are part and parcel to the Constitution, contrary to what other people want to argue. They are part and parcel to the Constitution. The Third Amendment is so very important in modern time because of two very important current acts, the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the
very
Patriot
bad
Act, both of them are very bad. Most people understand the Patriot Act definitely infringes upon next week's show, the Fourth Amendment. But the National Defense and Authorization Act has two sections in it. Now, this thing, I downloaded it. It's like 600 pages. So most of us don't want to sit and read it. Okay? But sections 1021 and 1022 essentially negate the Third Amendment. And I'm going to read to you why and how it negates the Third Amendment. Section 1022. Okay? military custody for foreign al-Qaeda terrorists. Now, most people think, oh, well, that's no big deal. Okay? Yes and no. Okay? Section 1022, subsection alpha, custody pending disposition under law of war. Has the war on terror ended yet?
Nope. I don't see it ending anytime soon either. We might be able to get some progress if a right winger is elected. We might have a little bit more of a chance in the fight. But if we get Bernie or Hillary, we're in deep, real deep. Folks don't get it. If we get Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders as the next president of the United States, we might as well pack it in and move to China because you'll be safer. You might be better suited to grab an American flag, a Holy Bible, and go walk down Main Street in Syria than to live here in America. If those two clowns, one of those two clowns get elected.
Right, and we all know what's happening to the Syrian Christians. Okay, so Section 1022, subsection alpha, paragraph 1. Listen very carefully, and you guys, this link will be posted. General, except as provided in paragraph 4, the armed forces of the United States shall hold a person described in paragraph 2 who is captured in the course of hostilities authorized by the Authorization for Use of Military Force, Public Law 107-40, in military custody pending disposition under the law of war. Okay, paragraph 2 lists all the covered persons. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it says to be a member of or part of al-Qaeda or an associated force that acts in accordance with or pursuant to the direction of al-Qaeda, and to have participated in the course of planning or carrying out an attack. Now, all of this sounds like it's just al-Qaeda people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, until we get down to paragraph 4. Waiver for national security. The President may waive the requirement of paragraph 1. President submits to Congress a certification in writing that such a waiver is in the national security interests of the United States.
See?
It doesn't say that Congress has to. It doesn't say that he has to consult with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It just says he has to write a letter and hand it in.
It was very shady how the Patriot Act came to be, too. You know, it was pretty funny how the buildings came down and, like, 2 days later they were signing the Patriot Act. Like, how do you get 2,000-page bill written, approved, read in 2 days? That shit was planned. Oh, yeah. Geez, excuse my French. Beep. I had to censor myself there, folks. That was planned. Something was planned there. They knew something was up. They had that bill ready to rock and roll. And the whole idea behind the Patriot Act was to steal the liberty of the people in the guise of security from terror.
Well, now most people think under NDAA that because Section 1022 is dealing specifically with al-Qaeda and terrorists, that it doesn't apply to American citizens. But this is not true. Okay?
Because you just fast forward to paragraph 4 and there it is.
Well, there's that, but there's also Section 1021, which precedes it, okay? But also there's a bill that's being presented to amend the NDAA, okay? And I know that Chris Ann has referenced it, and I didn't write it down. I need to go back and listen to it again. But Section 1021 is titled, okay, come on, computer, work right for me. Affirmation of authority of the armed forces of the United States to detain covered persons pursuant to the authorization for use of military force. Okay. Subsection alpha. In general, Congress affirms that the authority of the President to use all necessary and appropriate force pursuant to the authorization for use of military force, Public Law 107-40, I'm not even going to continue, includes the authority for the armed forces of the United States to detain covered persons as defined in subsection B, pending disposition under the law of war. Okay? Now, subsection B, covered persons. A covered person under this section is any person as follows. A person who planned, authorized, committed, or aided, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 2. This is the biggie. A person who was part of or substantially supported al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces that are engaged in hostilities against the United States or its coalition partners. You know, our coalition partners change with our underwear. Including any person who has committed a belligerent act or has directly supported such hostilities in aid of such enemy forces. What the hell is a belligerent act?
Let's see. I would say something that took place the other day in Chicago at a Trump rally seems like it might be a belligerent act, and these folks might be subject to rules of the NDAA.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
How come they're not using it on these folks? Oh, I'm sorry, because they're angry protesters exercising their First Amendment right, which includes burning, destroying other people's property, and intimidating and assaulting other people. Sounds like the feds have it backwards. They're charging the wrong people with the wrong crimes here. There's obviously some conspiracy that went behind this protest that took place at the Trump rally in Chicago. The conspiracy that I've seen out in Oregon is a conspiracy perpetrated by the FBI, the governor of Oregon, the state police of Oregon, and the Harney County sheriff. The conspiracy was with them, not with the people that were taking over the refuge. Or, I hate to say it, taking over the refuge. They did not take over the refuge. They had a peaceful sit-in, like the hippies did at universities in the 60s. Because people forget about this. The people forget the sit-ins of the 60s where the hippies would just kind of go there and just take a seat. Here we are. We're tripping. Put on some Jimi Hendrix and let's smoke some dope. You know, it's
right.
Crazy. What's happening in our country today is unbelievable. I am at a loss for words. Sometimes, and that's very rare because I am deemed a blabbermouth by many. One of the reasons I have this show is I can never shut up and I need to talk. But it's really unbelievable how far this country has fallen. And a lot of these violations that are happening to our Constitution, one of the main ones that are being violated, folks, and we're going to cover it next week on Constitution 101, is the Fourth Amendment. I mean, when you pull up to a traffic light and there's a facial recognition camera on that light pole right in front of you, that is a violation of your Fourth Amendment. Folks, we're going to hit on the Fourth Amendment. We might need a little extra time on the Fourth Amendment. We might need to cover it for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Constitution 101 may be the Fourth Amendment times 2, because there is a lot that goes into the Fourth Amendment. You must be secure in your person, papers, and effects. Very important. We will cover this on the next episode of Patriot Nation Radio's Constitution 101 with the Lady Federalist, Miss Char. We're right here at the end of the show again. These half-hour shows are quick, you know. They're 15 minutes recorded. Time flies. Here it is, right at the end of the show. But we are covering great ground, and we're giving out great information because I'm getting excellent feedback. And I want to thank my friend Jim. He's simulcasting us today. Thank you so much, Jim. I want to thank all our listeners because without you guys, there is no Patriot Nation Radio. It is the listener that makes the show, and the show is made by the listener. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in every week to Patriot Nation Radio. And thanks again, Char, for coming on and doing this great segment with me. I'm really enjoying my education and learning about the Constitution as well as helping the people understand what we take an oath to protect.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate you having me on here. I am enjoying the heck out of this, and I hope the listeners are as well.
I know I am, too. It's very important to understand the Constitution. I want to thank you again for coming on, and you can stick around for a minute if you like, because I'm going to head out of the show here with a little bit of what I got coming up for the week, and then I'm going to play the Star Spangled Banner by Madison Rising. Coming up this Thursday, tune in to hear gubernatorial candidate for governor running under the Republican Party, getting tons of Tea Party support out in Oregon, Bruce Cuff. He'll be joining us Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. And then on Friday, I got a really good one, ladies and gentlemen. I have, from Season 4 of The Walking Dead, veteran, actor, and American patriot, Santiago Cirillo. He will be joining us. He is making a movie right now. We're going to have all the details coming up here in a day or two. He's making a movie about veterans. The veterans will be acting in the movie. Veterans will be filming the movie. Veterans will be all about this movie. All the 40% of all proceeds from the movie will go to Veterans Cause. Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, www.blogtalkradio.com/WINN. Friday night, Santiago Cirillo from Walking Dead Season 4 played Julio. Check it out, folks. And I know Walking Dead's a big show. This guy's great, Santiago Cirillo. And, of course, Bruce Cuff, gubernatorial candidate for Oregon. Tune in Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to leave you with this jam. This is Madison Rising's version of the Star Spangled Banner. I want everybody to get a chance, or you can get a chance, go over to www.madisonrising.com for tour dates, information, merchandise, and more. And remember the defendfreedomtour.org webpage. Find out if they're going to be in your town. You don't want to miss Madison Rising. Good night, and God bless America.